Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land, I'm John and I'm back once again. This is my channel, Musings of a Marine. And for today's video, what I want to talk about is the unusual relationships I have in the Philippines. Because you see, while most people hang out there with people their same age, or around that at least, when I'm over there, I generally don't. And I want to tell you a little story about how that all came about. My wife asked me one time, and said, "Why are you so close to Baba, my nephew over there, when you're so far apart in age?" I mean, he's 29 years younger than I are. We, of course, have the same birthday. I've told that story before. But he's 29 years younger than I am. And yet he's my best friend over there. So how does that happen? Well, the first trip that my wife Diana and I took over there together in 2002, my best friend over there would have been my brother-in-law, Romeo. He's the one that showed us around. The kids were in school. Baba and Pito, my two youngest nephews over there at the time, were 9 and 10 years old, and they didn't know me, and they were a little shy and everything. So, yeah, I hung around with Romeo. But in 2006, everything changed. Baba had grown up, Pito had grown up. We started hanging out together. They weren't in school when we were over there. Now, while my brother-in-law Ali was over there at the time, well, he was getting married, okay? So he didn't have time to hang out with Diana and I. And so who accompanied us pretty much everywhere we went? Pito and Baba did. And that's why I really developed such a friendship with them and the way they looked out for me and everything else. And it is carried through to this day. From then on in, every time we went to Iloilo, I was hanging out usually with the two of them, unless there was some other adults along for the ride. And there's some various reasons for that. That's obviously one of them. They were the most available, handy people for me to hang out with, and nobody wanted me to go anywhere by myself over there, of course, being an American, not being so familiar. So Baba and Pito weren't just my buddies over there. They were kind of my bodyguards, too. Make sure I stayed out of trouble. And, it was, plus Baba being the adventurist, he got to really know the area. And when we were there in 2010, basically he was told to entertain me. And so we spent a lot of time by ourselves together. Pito was already in school, I think maybe in college by then. And so he was studying. And Baba was not, and Baba didn't have a job either. So I think that's really, really when our friendship really started to strengthen and get big. But there's other reasons why this occurs that I want to hang out with a younger crowd. Number one, the people my age, they're like, oh yeah, that's Diana's husband, but they don't really relate to me all that much. And when we would get together for functions, be it a wake or a party or whatever, they would be sitting aside talking in their own language, and I would get left out of the conversation. I don't speak fluent Tagalog. I don't know hardly any Hiligaynon, the Iloilo dialect. So I'd be out of the conversation, where the younger crowd seemed to be more interested in me and being more modern and maybe a little bit more westernized and not so old-fashioned, that they would tend more to speak English. A lot of them had a better education. A lot of my wife's relatives around her age didn't have a lot of education. They're not very worldly. A lot of them have never left the island of Panay, where Iloilo is. Haven't even been on a plane. So it's just a kind of a Western person like me trying to mesh in Iloilo. And quite frankly, as it turned out, I understood, stood better the mindset of the younger crowd, and I think that they appreciated me a little bit more because, I'm just speculating here, but maybe I was the person that they're thinking, man, that guy's an American? Wow. Okay. And maybe I'm a little bit of a novelty to them. And maybe I'm the person that, they would want to get to know and see how things are really like in the United States. So those are just my thoughts and my ideas of all this. But the fact of the matter is that, quite frankly, I'm always more comfortable with the younger crowd. And then what happened, of course, in 2013, when I had to quit drinking alcohol because of my pancreas couldn't take it anymore. Well, then we go over there, for functions, 2014, 2018. The crowd that is my age would often be sitting around drinking. And that's not really an environment that I want to be in anymore either, because I can't do it. So, you can break the ice with people when you're when you're drinking alcohol, but what's really amazing to me is the younger crowd in the Philippines that I know, they don't really drink all that much. Okay. I've never seen Pito and Baba actually drink alcohol, nor my niece Annette. And so that being the case, again, more comfortable with people like that, with the younger crowd. And, I didn't have to worry about feeling uncomfortable or any temptation or anything like that. So, that's kind of the situation there. Now, I'd like to give you some picture examples of this too, because, I like to show pictures of naturally of when I'm over there and kind of give people an idea of, what it's like. But at the same time, I want people to understand that, there's a lot of truth to all of this. And just to give you an idea. Now, especially in our last trip when we were over there, because, we're coming back from somewhere at some point, and there's the wake going on, and I see the younger crowd playing the card game of Uno. And the older crowd over there doesn't know the game of Uno, or I learned the game of Uno probably 40 some odd years ago. Well, now it's popular in the Philippines. So I come across some relatives of my wife's, and I see that they're playing Uno, and I talk to one of them, Natalie, who's a niece of mine, and come to find out that she is, a very friendly person, and I hadn't really talked to her before then. And she invites me to sit down and play with them. And I'm like, well, sure, that sounds like fun. Baba was working late, and I didn't really have anyone to hang out with. And again, I didn't want to hang out with the older crowd and get left out of the conversation while they were all sitting there getting drunk. So I sat down with them. And here's kind of a picture that gives you an idea. This was actually the day of my mother-in-law's wake. We came back, to have dinner and whatnot. And there's a bunch of us sitting at the table playing Uno. And as you can clearly see, I am the only older person at that table. And I don't know who took this picture, but to my right there in the picture is my niece Pat. And behind her, you can see my niece Natalie. And Totes, who is another nephew of mine. And Juries, she's the girl that was in the black and the white shirt, and it might have been her brother with her. And then there is the girl with holding up her fingers, the peace sign, and that's my niece Diana over there. So that's the crowd that I felt most comfortable with hanging out with during the wake, because they were all playing Uno, and I had more fun with them, and they even agreed to play the game my way, which is the cutthroat way. So, that's the probably one of the funnest times that I had over there in my last trip. So that's one scenario there, but also just wanted to show you some other examples of that too. The most fun day I had while I was over there was the second to last day we were in Iloilo in 2018, and we went to the Geyser Lighthouse ruins on the island of Guimaras. And there I am in the water, swimming on the beach there with my two best friends over there, Pito and Baba. There is no two people I'd rather hang out with over in the Philippines than those two. And unfortunately, Pito, who's there in the center, now lives in England as a nurse, lives in London. Baba is still there. So this is classic me when I'm over there, and this is classic who I like to hang out with. So that's another prime example of it. Wife Diana wasn't feeling good that day. She actually caught a cold, if you can believe that, in 80-some degree weather. But Baba said, "Hey, you want to go island hopping?" And go, I said, "Sure." So we go over to Guimaras, and he suggests the Geyser Lighthouse ruins. And I said, "That's fine by me. I've never seen it, so let's go." And we went over there, and a friend of his met us at the ferry port and took us over on his tricycle. And like I said, that was the most fun day I had over there in the last trip, hanging out with those two. And on the way back to the house in the taxi cab, I might have mentioned this before, I told this joke that a lot of Filipinos wouldn't understand, but they got the joke. And we were all laughing together. And they, those incidences are priceless. They really, really are, because, it's just a situation where you want to feel comfortable, but at the same time, I'm just having a blast, and it's almost always the younger crowd. Now, the night I actually started talking with Natalie and we started playing cards is right here. And you can see this picture, and if it comes into focus, there's me, obviously, in the center. To my right is Diana. To my left is Natalie. And across from me there is Toads and Arjun, who is Natalie's younger brother. And had more fun that night because I won. But there's Diana standing behind me and my brother-in-law, Mabini. And there's just another classic example. I had nothing better to do. I sat down there, played cards with those guys, and you can't see her, but to Diana's right at the table is my niece Pat also. So we had a heck of a time, and I got to know them, and the only person I had met before was Diana, and now she's older, and now she speaks fluent English and is more comfortable talking with adults, especially ones she doesn't know very well, like me, because I had met her in 2014, and now it's 4 years later. And so that pretty much sums it up, and it's just something that I wanted to mention. This is very near and dear to my heart. This might not be the most exciting, funniest video I'm ever going to do, but I really, really wanted to mention it to everybody. Who do I hang out with, and what do I actually do when I'm over in Iloilo? And I want to mention one last thing. My niece Natalie, who is there in this picture to the left of my wife Diana, out of all the people that I met over there, I probably got the closest with her, and maybe partially because she's now here in the United States. I might have mentioned that, she was able to hook up with an agency and get an intern at the beach club in West Palm Beach, Florida, and work there because I guess she had a degree in hotel management. But getting to the end of this video, this is going to be kind of hard for me to get out. We found out 8 days ago, Natalie wanted to call Diana and I urgently, and she let us know that she had gotten sick after her birthday last month, and they discovered cancer in her. And yesterday, she had the surgery yesterday afternoon to remove it. Now, I know she survived the surgery, as I would have expected her to, but I don't know her current condition now. She's going to have to go through chemo, and probably best off that she just goes back to Manila now and does that with her family. The agency that got her over there did have some health insurance, but how much it's going to pay for her, I don't know. But, I was telling a friend of mine at work about it, and I almost broke down because, she comes over here for the greatest adventure of her life, and she's messaging me when she finds out she has the opportunity. And I'm encouraging her, yeah, come on over, Natalie. You'll love it. You'll be great. You'll be fine. And then something like this happens to her. So I'm asking everybody who sees this video, her name is Natalie Hubelag, and if you're a believer like her and I are, if you could say a prayer for her recovery, and that between the surgery, getting to the tumors, and the chemo that's going to come after the fact, that they can get rid of that. She's just 22 years old. It's kind of the theme of this video. Someone 22, and then I can sit down and play cards with and have fun. And she was only 20 in that picture at that time. That's the whole theme of all of this. Those are the people that I like to hang out with. I'm just good with the younger crowd. I'm still a kid at heart, but that's one kid that I'm really, really concerned about right now. And I really hope she pulls through. So thanks for watching this video. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Take care. Be safe. Be healthy. God bless. And Semper Fi.